Hello everyone! I am Angelo Miparanam together with my groupmates Manny Manpapilan, Ramel Gibuay, Leslie Grace Lakila, and Iris Rose Mamian. And welcome to this video. So for today's video, we are going to tackle about remedial instruction in reading. In discussing this topic, we divided this topic to subtopics, and these are correcting perceptual and decoding deficits in word recognition. Second, definition of terms. Third, correcting sight word knowledge deficit. Fourth, correcting basic sight vocabulary deficit. Fifth, correcting knowledge on sound symbol correspondence. Sixth, remediation through phonemic awareness. And last, remedial vocabulary instruction. So without further ado, let's begin the discussion. Our topic is remedial instruction in reading. So, do you know what is remedial instruction in reading? Or remedial reading? Okay, so remedial reading is a supplemental reading program that consists of rereading unfamiliar text until a satisfactory level of fluency is reached. So at the end of this week, or at the end of this lesson, the students, you, should be able to first identify reading perceptual difficulties of learners, or you. So second is distinguish the underlying reasons of the difficulties of learners in reading. And number 3, apply principles and activities which may help correct such difficulties. So our first subtopic is about correcting perceptual and decoding deficits in word recognition. Before we go deep down to this topic, let's define first the title itself to understand its gist. According to Equal and Shanker 1988, visual analysis of an unfamiliar word must precede the application of knowledge of both parts. Both of these come before the final synthesis of the parts into word recognition. So our first word that we are going to define from the title is perceptual. According to Oxford Dictionary, it is relating to the ability to interpret or become aware of something through the senses. While according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it is relating to or involving perception, especially in relation to immediate sensory experience. Our second word is deficit, a deficiency or failing, especially in a neurological or psychological function. It is according to Oxford Dictionary. While according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it is a problem that causes a decrease in some ability. Then the last is word recognition. It is the ability of a reader to recognize written words correctly and virtually effortlessly. Sometimes it is referred to as isolated word recognition. So this topic deals with correcting and identifying the disabilities of the eyes of the learners in word recognition. There are two ways of identifying whether a student has insufficient competence in the visual analysis of words. So let us discuss these two. So first, when the student is pronouncing words verbally and selects inappropriate elements to sound out, he or she tries again and again to use the same analysis even when it does not work. While second, when the teacher shows him or her the word covering up parts of it, if the student is able to recognize it, then at least one of his or her problems in word recognition is faulty visual analysis. Now let's move on to definition of terms. So first word is alphabetic knowledge, and it has many definitions. So now, let us discuss those definitions. So according to Mason 1984, it is the ability to name, distinguish shapes, write, and identify the sounds of the alphabet. While on the other hand, it is also known as the letter sound knowledge. And also, it is defined as the relationship between phonology and orthography. So phonology is the sound in speech, while orthography, it is the spelling patterns. It is the spelling patterns of written language. So the other definition is it refers to the matching of phonemes. This phonemes is it is the smallest unit of sounds. So with their respective graphemes. So these graphemes also is the written symbols in the language. It also includes letter names and their respective sounds. Understanding that letters represent sound, so that first, words may be read by saying sounds represented by the letters. Second is words may be spelled by the writing the letters that represent the sounds in a word. So here are the examples: dog, apple, book, witch, curse, and tattoo. Next that we are going to define is sight word knowledge. All words any one reader can recognize instantly. Instantly means with automaticity, not necessarily with meaning. We also have basic sight words. It is a designated list of words, usually of high utility. The last is knowledge on sound symbol correspondence, aka, or it is also known as graphophonic knowledge. It is the reader's ability to use phonics, phonemic, and structural analysis knowledge. That's all for these subtopics. Next is correcting sight word knowledge deficit.
Good day everyone, my name is Leslie Grace Lakilak and my topic for today are all about correcting sight word knowledge and basic sight vocabulary deficit. So, before we discuss what are the sight words that we need to know as learners and what are the strategies we can use in teaching students the basic sight words, let us all enlighten our mind first what is sight word knowledge and what is basic sight word vocabulary. A sight word is a word that is instantly and effortlessly recalled from memory regardless of whether it is regular or irregular. On the other hand, sight vocabulary refers to the pool of words a student can effortlessly recognize. The term sight word refers to any word an individual can read as a whole word without sounding it out. High-frequency words are words that commonly occur in print. Because high-frequency words appear repeatedly in text, it is important for students to recognize these words with automaticity. These words then become sight words for the individual. But bear in mind that there are two different types of sight words. The first one is the phonetic, or those words that can be easily read, like he, and, dad, and go. And the second one is non-phonetic, or those words that cannot be decoded using standard alphabetic principle and syllable pattern work, like the, once, and talk. Sight words appear often in a text. There are also sight words that do not follow the usual spelling rules, like what I've said earlier. There are those sight words that phonetically irregular. That is, their sound does not consistently match up to their letters. Also, sight words are mostly adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, prepositions, conjunctions, and the most common verbs. They are the service words in the language. They give meaning and direction to language. And lastly, sight words are not easily represented by pictures. For example, the and or. Sight words appear so regularly and make up such a great amount of all text that educators recommend students be able to instantly recognize these words so that they can spend their energy decoding the tougher words in a text. If students have trouble with sight words, it is more likely that they will experience frustration and have less desire and ability to spend energy and time decoding the tougher words in the text. Having an arsenal of sight words ready helps students read more easily and also helps them acquire more language that can be readily deployed in the service of reading. Now, how to correct and improve sight word knowledge. Sight words may require some extra effort and time to learn, but they can help a student keep up with his or her peers in the classroom. Most children are introduced to sight words in first or second grade when they begin learning how to read. A child who is a strong reader from an early age may find he or she acquires sight words effortlessly through repeat exposure from extensive reading. As a matter of fact, more than 75% of the average children's book is made up of sight words. But before learning sight words, children must learn how to read first. Children develop pre-literacy skills, including individual sound, letter, and word recognition, through conversations with caregivers and being read to from an early age. In order to read a word, a child must first be able to recognize individual letters and sets of letters and then map the correct sounds onto them. This process is called decoding. Sounding out words uses up a lot of cognitive energy and attention, which is why reading can be quite slow in the beginning, when very few words look familiar to the child. But after a learner has sounded out a word multiple times, he or she will find it easier to recognize by sight, which is to say he or she will be sight reading. But which words are sight words? Sight words are sometimes referred to as Dulce words because of the man who first assembled them into the list most parents and educators teach today. Edward William Dulce published his list of sight words in 1948 while he was working at the University of Illinois. In order to create the list, he looked through children's books for the most common words they contained. Dulce felt that teaching young children to memorize too many words would be counterproductive. He narrowed the sight words list down to 220, leaving out nouns. This means today's sight words are comprised mostly of service words such as prepositions, adjectives, and verbs. So these are some of the examples of sight words corresponding to the student's grade level, based on Dulce's sight words list. So these are the 5 tips for teaching sight words. Number 1. Look them in books. Draw a child's attention to a word by looking for it in children's books. You can start with Dr. Seuss books as they contain a lot of them. Repeat exposure, pointing a word out, and talking about it provides a much better introduction than simply giving a child a list of terms to learn. Number 2. Hang them around the classroom. Keep the sight words in sight. Certain words such as and the will be hard for children to miss, but calling attention to print that contains them is key. You can create big posters of a word, talk about the letters it contains, and spend time focusing on its meaning. Number 3. Help children use them. Teaching children to use sight words in their writing, whether it be through illustration, plain old spelling drills, or repetition on a keyboard, can cement learning. A word can be written in isolation or as part of basic sentence, Number 4. Revisit them regularly. Teaching a word over and over again may seem pointless, but repeat exposure will eventually do the trick. Children need plenty of practice reading and writing sight words before you can consider them learned. Children with specific learning differences, such as dyslexia, may specially benefit from overlearning new words. And number 5, introduce an online typing course. There's no reason why a young child of age 6 or 7 cannot learn to type at the same time as he or she is learning to read and write. The significant factor is that the hands are mature enough to sit comfortably on a keyboard. Typing can greatly help those learners who struggle with dyslexia or dysgraphia, as it teaches them to rely on muscle memory and the hands to help with spelling. And if you use the TTRS course, you can also have them learn to type using modules made up only of sight words. And there are also sight words teaching strategies. Number 1 is see and say. A child sees the word on the flashcard and says the word while underlining it with her finger. Number 2, arm tapping. The child says the word and then spells out the letters while tapping them on her arm. Number 3, spell reading. The child says the word and spells out the letters, then reads the word again. Number 4, air writing. A child says the word, then writes the letters in the air in front of the flashcard. Number 5, table writing. A child writes the letters on a table, first looking at and then not looking at the flashcard. And number 6, corrections procedure. Correct a child's mistake by clearly stating and reinforcing the right word several times. So those are all my topics for today. Again, my name is Lester Gays Lakila. And now, let us all welcome our next presenter.
Hi, good day. I am Remedial. This time, we're going to tackle about the correcting knowledge and sound symbol correspondence. So maybe you are asking, what is the lesson all about? This lesson is identifying the sounds in a word and how to represent the sounds with letters so they can read the word. Why is it important? As you notice, there is multiple words that sound alike. In written form, it is somewhat easy to know the difference, while in listening or speaking, it causes us glitch or misunderstanding. Like for example, these words: beat, beat, hit, hit. So you have to make sure the difference between these two pronunciation because it will cause trouble. Therefore, our lesson is all about correcting knowledge and sound symbol correspondence. Letter sound correspondence should be taught one at a time. As soon as the learner acquires one letter sound correspondence, introduce a new one. We suggest teaching the letter sounds in this sequence: A, M, T, P, O, N, C, D, U, S, J, H, I, F, B, L, E, R, W, K, X, V, Y, Z, J, Q. Letters that occur frequently in simple words, example A, M, and T, are taught first. Letters that look similar and have similar sounds, B and D, are separated in the instructional sequence to avoid confusion. Short vowels are taught before long vowels. Lowercase letters are taught before since these occur more frequently than uppercase letters. The sequence is intended as a guideline. Modify the sequence as required to accommodate the learner's prior knowledge, interest, and hearing. Letter sound correspondence, or the relationship of the letters in the alphabet to the sounds they produce, is a key component of the alphabetic principle and learning to read. To teach letter sound correspondence, work with a few sounds at a time by teaching each letter at alphabet and its corresponding sounds. This time, let's move on to the vowels rules or principles and accent generalizations. Rule number 1. In words containing a single vowel letter at the end of the word, the vowel letter usually has the long vowel sound. For example, be, she, me. Again, be, she, me. Rule number 2. In syllables containing a single vowel letter at the end of the syllables, the vowel letter may be either the long or short vowel sound. Try the long sound first. For example, bake, life, bite. Again, bake, life, bite. Rule number 3. A single vowel in a syllable usually has the short vowel sound if it is not the last letter or is not followed by R, W, or L. Example, nag, pack, nap. Again, nag, pack, nap. So, as you can see, the vowel A is located at the center, not on the last or nor in the start. Also, the vowel is not followed by R, W, or L. Rule number 4. Vowels followed by R usually have a sound that is neither long nor short. For example, car, farm, fort. Again, car, farm, fort. Rule number 5. A Y at the beginning of the word has the Y consonant sound. Y at the end of a single syllable word, when preceded by a consonant, usually has the long I sound. For example, cry, fly, try. Again, cry, fly, try. And Y at the multi-syllable word, when preceded by a consonant, usually has the long E sound. For example, money, honey, funny. Again, money, honey, funny. Rule number 6. In words ending the vowel consonant, silent E. The E is silent at the first vowel, may be either long or nor short. In teaching this rule, stress that the student should be flexible. It has been demonstrated that students who are taught to be flexible in attacking words. For example, place, cake, mice. Again, place, cake, mice. So if you notice, E is silent. Other example, vote, mute. Vote, mute. Rule number 7. When AJ, AY, AA, EE, and OA are found together, the first vowel is usually long, and the second is usually silent. For example, goat, road, plane. Again, goat, road, plane. As you can see, in the word goat, OA are together. Therefore, the first vowel. Rule number 8. The vowel pair OW may have either the sound heard cow or the sound heard in crow. Example, borrow, row, throw. Again, borrow, row, throw. Rule number 9. When AU, AW, OU, OI, and OY are found together, they usually blend to form a diphthong. For example, author, oyster, cloud. Again, author, oyster, cloud. So through the combination of the two vowels is created a diphthong. Rule number 10. The OO sound is either long as in moon or short in a book. For example, cute, float, perfume. Again, cute, float, perfume. Rule number 11. If A is the only vowel in a syllable and is followed by L or W, then the A usually neither long or short. For example, call, fall, jaw. Again, call, fall, jaw. This time I will present you a video about alphabet letter sound correspondence.
Welcome to Mrs. Aguilar's Reading Corner. Today, we are going to be practicing the letter names, letter sounds, and identifying pictures that begin with those sounds. A, apple. B, bee. C, computer. D, dog. E, elephant. F, flower. G, globe. H, house. I, infant. J, jar. K, koala. L, ladybug. M, mom. N, 9. O, octagon. P, penguin. Q, queen. R, rabbit. S, school. T, teacher. U, umbrella. V, vet. W, watermelon. X, box. Y, yo-yo. Z, zero. I hope you learned a lot today.
So those are the vowels rules or principles and accent generalizations. I hope you learn from my discussion.
Hello everyone, I am Irish Rose P. Mamian, and today my topic it is all about remediation through phonemic awareness. The first is sounds isolation. Example, the first sound it is in sun is S. So example instruction in sounds isolation, it is the use of conspicuous strategies. A. Show the students how to do all the steps in the test before asking children to do the test. For example, Mary, Mary. The letter B, use the consistent and brave wording, which is man and mountain. Next is letter C. Correct errors by telling the answers and asking students to repeat the correct answer, which is the man, and the mountain. Okay, number 2, which is the blending. For example, S-U-N, it is sun. In the blending instruction, the scaffold test difficulty. A. When the students are first learning to blend, use example with the continuous sounds because the sounds can be stretched and healed. So letter C, when students are first learning the test, use materials that reduce memory load and to repeat sounds. And letter D, as a student becomes successful during initial learning, remove scaffold by using progressively more difficulty. For example, the few favor scaffold, which is the man and the mountain. Next, it is the segmenting. So, for example, the sound in sun are S-U-N. In the phenomenon segmentation instruction, it is the strategically integrate familiar and new information. So letter A, recycle instructional practice, example used for blending, and the segmenting are sides of the same coin. The only differences is whether students hear or produces a segmented word. So sa letter B is currently teach letter sound. Correspondence for the sound student will be segmenting a words. Letter C, make the connection between sounds in the words and sounds of the letters. And letter D, use the phonologic skill to teach more advanced reading skills such as blending letters to read words. Okay? So, the first one, it is the sound isolation. The second one, it is the blending. And the number 3, it is segmenting. Again, that is the part of remediation through phonemic awareness. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Manny Manpatilan and the focus of my discussion is all about remedial vocabulary instruction. So when we talk about vocabulary, it is initially acquired in 4 ways. Number 1, incidentally. So through reading and conversation, we learn new words or vocabulary when reading certain types of books and also talking to your friends, family, or someone. Number 2, direct instruction. So as when a teacher or auto-instructional program is used, intentionally build vocabulary power. So the teacher will teach his or her students directly. Example, introducing new set of words to the class and be able to explain further the technical definition and uses of those words. So number 3, we have self-instruction. So as when words are looked up in a dictionary or their meaning are sought from others in a conscious manner. So you personally teach yourself to know a new vocabulary by searching it up through internet and dictionary. So number 4, we have mental manipulation. So while thinking, speaking, and writing, this is when you fully understand the new word you have learned and will use that word when speaking and writing. Now, there are considerations in remedial vocabulary instruction. It will connect vocabulary instruction to the natural processes of word learning. So the literature on vocabulary acquisition tends to divide the teaching of vocabulary into 5 phases. These are, number 1, disposition. So opening the student's mind and it will engage new words. For example, the teacher introduces new words to her students and how they will use in the sentence. So number 2, integration. Establishing ties between the meaning of a new word and the student's existing knowledge. Leading new words to the learner's personal experiences and also helps them to connect to new words rather.
Number 3, repetition. So provisions for practice distributed over time as well as opportunities for frequent encounters with a word in similar and differing contexts. So for example, by frequent reading and practice of the words, you will later internalize the meaning and uses of the words. So number 4, we have interaction and meaningful use. So social situations conducive to using new words in interactions with others and thus mentally referencing new words in listening, reading, and speaking. So we can also learn by having conversations with someone, especially with those more knowledgeable ones, right? So number 5, we have self-instruction. It maintains or maintaining an awareness of new words outside the classroom. So learning vocabulary is not just limited in the four corners of the classroom. So next we have concept-based approach to vocabulary building. So number 1, it identified the relevant and irrelevant features of the concept in questions. For example, we have our concept is globe. So the relevant features there to be considered is what is its shape? Is it round or spherical? Is it a three-dimensional? So the irrelevant features, it includes the size, the substance, and is it solid or hollow? So that is the irrelevant features. So number 2, it provides example of the concept. So for example, a classroom globe, pointing out that it is more rounded than the actual Earth, right? So number 3, it provides examples of the irrelevant but loosely related concepts with which it might be compared. So for example, providing non-examples based on possible misunderstanding of the two concepts, such as two-dimensional drawing of a circle, right? So number 4, we have relate the concept by some possible smaller or subordinating concepts. So for example, relating the globe into ball or egg or moon, things like. The number 5, we have relate or categorize the concept by some possible larger or subordinating concepts. So for example, relating it to spherical objects and stars which are not really star-shaped but only appear that way due to the effect of viewing them through the atmosphere which causes their light to disperse and appear to twinkle, right? So number 6, relate or categorize the concepts alongside equal or coordinating terms. For example, relate or categorize the concept to other terms such as other planets or things like. Next, we have subjective approach to vocabulary or SAV. So number 1, identify 2 or 4 words to be taught or pre-taught if SAV is used as a pre-reading activity. So if a word list is used, be sure to include as many words as possible that impart concepts and feelings that you would wish students to learn. Okay, number 2, the teacher tells the student the full meaning of a word much as it might be found in a dictionary. So it is recorded in a word journal as the objective or dictionary meaning. So when we talk about objective, it refers to the exact description of a word, while a subjective is based on feelings or opinion of the word. Number 3, the teacher asks the students, what does this word remind you of, or what do you picture or think when you hear the word? So it explained that discussion of a personal association with a word can be very helpful in remembering and clarifying its meaning. Right? So number 4, the teacher talks to the students through this personal search of meaning by asking further clarifying situations by pointing out those images suggested that seems most vivid. So the teacher may add his or her own images, and the students are then directed to write some subjective or personal associations for the new word under the previously written dictionary definition in their journals. Might be drawings can be added. So number 5, silent reading follows next when SAV is used as pre-reading vocabulary development. So when it is being used for general vocabulary development, Students are given 5 to 10 minutes to study and rehearse the new and previously recorded words. Number 6, the teacher let the students close the word journal and ask him or her the meaning of the words studied that day and a few others from previous days. So, this step can be tied to seat exercises in conventional workbooks such as crossword, puzzles, category games, or etc. So this manipulation and reinforcement step can be made easier by selecting the words to be taught from the exercise material. So next we have motor imaging. So it appears that even the highest forms of vocabulary and concepts learning have psychomotor foundations or equivalents. So motor movements associated with certain stimuli can become stereoized as a symbolic meaning. So there are three considerable advantages to knowing this where remediation is concerned. Number one, since physical sensory or proprioceptive learning can be stereoized, they also be self-stimulating. And as such, they are easier to rehearse and recall with the slightest mental reminder as well as from external stimulation. So number two, we have proprioceptive learning is so basic to human learning that it is common to all humans, fast or slow, and hence ideal for heterogeneously grouped classes. Number three, the act of identifying and acting out a word becomes a life experience in itself with the word. So it is a value that Frederick Doppelmayr demonstrated when he successfully taught youngsters words via the experiential approach. So in other words, vocabulary knowledge increases when students create their own images and actions to represent word meaning. Use nonverbal physical movement to help emphasize and clarify vocabulary words, includes facial expressions, movement or placement of body, and combination. So that is all my topic all about. So for conclusion, remedial reading refers to correcting or improving deficient skills in a specific subject. Thus, remedial reading is a change in instruction that helps remedy a weakness in the area of reading. So recognition is the ability to use individual words to form useful concepts as they are read in context. So word perception refers to the ability to pronounce a word as a logical entity. Reading allows people to find some answers to their questions. Reading remedial programs should be founded on the research and implemented consistently by teachers who have not retrieved adequate training. So the instruction should be sequential, it should be start with the basic principles and progressing to the more complicated. So the capacity to read fluently and comprehend what is read is critical to a child's future success. Remedial reading is a supplemental reading program that entails rereading unfamiliar literature until fluency is achieved to a sufficient degree. Assisted reading, reading while listening, and paired reading are all part of the remedial reading technique. So that's all for our topics, and let us continue reading.